Okay.
Hello, you guys. Welcome to another edition of Left-Handed with a Lot to Say. I'm James Lott Jr, your host, and I'm talking to somebody else who's left-handed, of course. It's my Left-Handed podcast. I'm talking to people from all over the place and their experiences, whether it's from it didn't bother me at all to it bothers me all the time. Talking to people all over the place about their left-handedness. And this person I posted it in one of the groups about people who are left-handed who want to be on the show. And it's you out there. If you think you want to be on the show, you can talk to me and let's see if we get you on the show. So this guy is from Virginia. So he's on the other coast. I'm in LA. He's on the other coast. I like Virginia. So I'm gonna bring him on, and it's Blake Cramer. Hi, Blake. How you doing today?
Good, man. Good. Excited for this.
Yes. Well, first, I want to ask you, how are you doing with all this COVID-19 stuff, and how's it going for you?
It's actually been like I'm a chef.
Oh, okay.
So our restaurant has been like closed. We're not doing curbside or anything. So
Oh,
I've just been at home, and I have about 1.5 acres of land out in the middle of nowhere in the mountains. So I've just been working in the yard and getting my garden going and
yeah.
just kind of hanging out, trying to stay sane.
Yes. Oh, I know. I have a garden too. I have a nice piece of land. I have a garden. I'm always posting garden pictures. I like growing. So what are you growing out there?
I've got a bunch of different like collard greens and Swiss chard, and then lettuce. So we're like I said, I'm in the mountains, so it's pretty low light. Like you probably couldn't get corn to grow out in this particular area. So all the stuff I'm growing, like onions, potatoes, broccoli, stuff that grows well in low light.
Wow. Oh.
Yeah. We're in the woods.
I love it. I'll tell folks because I grow. I grow mostly fruit. So I have like plums, nectarines, grapes, avocados, loquat, all this stuff. Now, some people I said I love that I get to live off my land sometimes because during this time period I made loquat jam and loquat chicken. I have grapes coming in, and it's kind of. I have lemons. I have lemons for stuff. So I kind of like that I can live off my own land for a little bit.
Yeah, there's nothing really more rewarding than just like, all right, let's go see what's ready today, and like that's what's for dinner because it's ready to go.
I agree. I want some chickens and stuff. That's next for me, but I haven't got there yet. But that's my next thing I want to do. You know.
Yeah. I've got. Do you know what a pawpaw is?
What's that?
Some people call them custard apples.
Oh, okay. I've heard of that. Yeah, I've heard of that. Yeah.
So it's like a Northern American banana. It's like the closest thing you can describe it to. It's a weird, like sort of mango looking fruit.
Okay.
And it's the texture is pretty much like pudding. I've got a couple of those started that I'm really excited for, but that'll be 5 or 6 years off before they'll bear any fruit.
Yeah.
But yeah, their native tribes really like propagated them. So you'll see like what are essentially like orchards like by the river and stuff.
Oh, okay. Very cool. No, it's very, very cool. Actually, I love that. I do. I love seeing stuff grow from seedling to whatever, and picking it off myself. I get my baskets and I go outside and I pick my fruit and stuff, and I love it. I do.
Yeah, that's great.
And I grew up with that. I had a grandmother who lived 10 blocks away who was all into fruit. She had gardens and vegetables. She had figs and pears and radishes and turnips. She had all that stuff. So I grew up with that.
One of the things that I love most about gardening is just pulling a carrot up out of the dirt and just brushing the dirt off. Don't even wash it. Take a big bite out of it. My granddad grew a huge garden too, and that got me just hooked on that. Just popping that carrot out of the ground, dirt and all, just.
I understand. I pick things off my trees and just rub it on my thing and I just eat it. I love it.
Yeah.
There's nothing like it. There is. You're right. There's nothing like it. I love it. So it's about you being left-handed. So the first question I always ask everybody, it's the opening question I ask everybody. I was curious. Did you know when you were a kid that you were different? And if so, do you remember about what time, what age?
So my experience with that is kind of interesting because around here, I don't want to use the term backwards, but
Yeah.
definitely not as progressive as some education systems.
Yes.
So when I would be trying to write with my left hand, they'd make me switch to my right hand.
Ah, they did that to you. Okay. Yes.
And then when I was in first grade, I was playing with my brother and I broke my right wrist. So I had learned all my like writing fundamentals with my right hand by like force, and then break my right wrist, and then all of a sudden now it's okay for me to switch and write with my left hand. So my handwriting is like garbage.
That's
Um,
hilarious. Wow.
yeah, almost serendipitous. Like, listen,
Right.
you're not gonna
Oh
let
my
me do
God.
it. Um, but like I still like to this day do a lot of stuff right-handed because like you know it wasn't I shoot right-handed because like my dad was like, well, I'm not going to go buy like a left-hand setup rifle. Just learn to shoot the right-handed one.
Yeah.
Play
Yeah.
guitar right-handed. Same reason.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, but it was an issue like really early on for me because of the like, well, this feels natural, but they won't let me do it, so I've got to do it like their way, and then like all of a sudden then having to switch back.
That is
But
interesting.
yeah, it was when I saw your like thing, I was like, oh, like he'll probably find this interesting.
That's very fascinating. So every show I do, I find something interesting. So I want to ask you, how'd you break your wrist?
We were me and my brother were playing in my parents' basement with RC cars, just like driving them around. And I like jumped up on the couch and then jumped off and misjudged, and my wrist caught like a stool and just
Like,
yeah,
that just sounds painful. Just hearing you say it, it sounds painful. Um,
yeah,
but that's very cool. So, okay, so because you bring up a point that a lot of us they tried to make me right-handed at one point. I was like in kindergarten, but I was like, no, I'm right. I'm not right-handed. I'm left-handed. So they let me alone. But it's funny how you actually learned. So you did learn how to kind of write with your right hand. You kind of learn
yeah,
some of those things, but then the nightmare everybody thinks of, the hand you're dominant in breaks, and then you're forced to use your other. But your natural tendency was that you were left-handed, and they forced you right. That's so crazy.
yeah. I don't think that like I can't really think back and think if there were any other left-handed kids in my class. I'm sure my mother would know the answer to that
Yeah.
question.
Wait, was there anybody left-handed in your family you know of? Anybody left-handed? Immediate family?
No,
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
No, no, I'm definitely the only lefty in my immediate family. I'm
Wow.
actually, I only know a handful of other people who are left-handed. It is nice to be able to like go sit in a like restaurant booth with someone who's also left-handed. You don't have to be
Yes.
like awkward. Be like, I got to sit on the outside.
Yes.
That's one of the like, that's one of those things that's like constantly coming up. It's like, oh, you got to like, no, he's got to sit there. It's like,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Um, but now, okay, so as a chef, you said you use mostly your left hand, or are you able to use both? I mean, I know you probably cut, but how do you work that? How do you work that out?
so like when I like use a knife, I'll use the knife right-handed. But if I'm like using a pair of tongs or something, or like any other instrument, really, I like I use my left hand for it. And I think that just comes back from like ever since I was a child. It was like, no, you hold the thing in this hand, and
So I
and
guess,
also I kind of think it makes my like control of like the stuff that I'm cutting better because I'm left hand dominant. So it's like really easy for me to keep like good like if I'm like julienning something, it
wow,
just makes it I have a little more control, I think.
wow. Do you find when you're learning, like for me, I'm a visual learner. I see it, I can pick it up more so than whatever kind of learning, whatever use word to use. But a lot of times, if a left-handed person teaches me something specific, I get it faster than a right-handed person. So I just wonder for you, is it when you were learning how to cook and stuff, learning how to be a chef, was that in the case at all, or no? Were you fine?
I'm definitely the same way. Like yeah, I can sit there and read an entire book about it, but it's probably just better if you just give me the tools and say, hey, here, screw it up a few times, and then you'll figure it out. And when it came to like cooking, that was definitely the case. I went to culinary school for a little while and was just like, this is a joke. Like this isn't gonna make you good in a restaurant. Like and then I just got a job at like a really fancy restaurant and
Okay.
paid attention. Uh, the restaurant was the Southern Inn in Lexington, Virginia.
Okay.
They're pretty quality folks there.
Yeah.
But it was definitely like there were some things where there's like a tool is like designed right-handed and there's not one in the building, can openers and stuff like that, where it's just like you just gotta tough through it.
Yep, you do. But I feel like we're more adaptable anyway. Like we just have to be because the world's set
Yeah.
up for right. I'm gonna tell, I'm gonna share this with you because I've been sharing this on my podcast. But I'm gonna share it with you, especially because you're a cook. I've been in a left-handed kitchen.
Oh yeah.
And it was a trip. I walked in and I was like, this feels oddly normal to me. Like, why does this feel normal? And so I'll tell you what they did. So what they did, it was made by left-handed people. This one family, they were all left-handed. It was really freaky. I was like, how did that happen? They're all left-handed. So they had the stove, the actual oven stove in the middle. They had the cutting board, countertop on the left. All the utensils were hung on the left. You just grab it, cook. The sink was on the right. So it went from left to right. The way the cabinets open,
Yeah.
like left-handed people. The way the refrigerator is open for like left-handed. So it was really interesting to see how it all just went like this. So when you cook, everything was over here. You put it on the stove, put it in the sink. Over here, it was really a trip. It flowed, and you would understand that. I mean, it flowed like really nicely.
Yeah, that's awesome. It would be interesting if they had like a right-handed kid,
Right, exactly.
Jokes on you.
That's
You should see if you can find someone that's been in that situation. Like their whole family's like left-handed, and then they're the only right-handed person.
You're right. That's a trip, actually. That's a trip. But that's actually very funny you say that. I know. It's like after all this stuff, they live the world we live. That would be the interesting part. They live the world that we normally live. It's like I'm like left. Everybody else in my family's right-handed, kind of thing. So it's kind of like, oh, okay. But I thought it'd be interesting to tell you that because I was like, yeah, because you're a chef, you would know it. But so it's really interesting to see it. So I know when I used to do merchandising for retail stores, I definitely look at things from left to right. My eye goes from left to right. It's that's how I look at stuff. So from like light to dark, or from that's the way it goes for me. So that's kind of an interesting thing. Interesting. I do feel like, and you probably feel the same way. We are part of this kind of interesting club. We actually literally are part of a club, but like we're in this interesting club. Like you see, like you always know some left-handed people. You go, you're left-handed too. Do you notice that in movies and stuff? Like you see, they're left-handed. Oh, they're left-handed.
Yeah. One of the things I used to work at a brewery here in Harrisonburg, and I always would find myself handing people like a pen to sign a receipt and handing it to their left hand. And like eventually it became a game for me, is like hand them the pen to their left hand and watch their brain break a little bit for a second, because they're just like,
so funny.
It definitely became like something that I did on purpose, so that I started doing just like out of habit, just like, oh, well, I would expect to be handed it to the left hand. And then realizing like what it did to righties' brains, and they just like kind of like stop for a second and then have to switch, because like whenever someone hands you a pen in public, they always hand it to your right hand, and you got to like take it and then switch it.
Yeah. I love that, actually. I've never thought that before. I love that. I just wrote that down. I like that. And so let's see.
Try
you go and see what happens. That's pretty funny, Blake. That's actually really funny. I like that. That's funny. So you say, did you play any sports growing up?
Yeah, and everything, it was played baseball and football and soccer. But like playing baseball, my dad had a left-handed glove that was a friend of his.
Oh, okay.
So wound up, he gave me that, and I did play baseball left-handed. Yeah.
Okay. And you say you shoot with your left hand.
I shoot right-handed.
Shoot right-handed. Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
My dad's a hunting and fishing guide. So, when we were learning how to shoot, it was just like, no, just do it this way. Like, it's fine. And like, that was pretty easy to pick up. There's not really that much of a difference. You're not using your dominant eye, but it was still pretty easy to pick that system up.
That's good. That's good. I mean, I never thought of shooting as being a hand. I always thought it was just like, you probably can use either hand, whatever hand feels comfortable. You just do it. I mean, I never thought of it that way actually.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure. I wasn't really sure. That's interesting. Okay. Okay. Well, Blake, thanks for being on the show. I mean, this is very fascinating. Once again, I learned something new. I wrote some stuff down that I was like, ooh, I got to think about that next time too. I want to do the pen thing now. I want to hand pen to people left-handed now because of you.
Oh yeah. It like you'll see it just it's so subtle that they're not thinking about it, but like it'll confuse them for a second, you know. We had this one of the food distributors that delivered at my job. You'd like have to check your order in, and then they hand you the device to me in my left hand and the right hand, and I'd have to switch them. I'd see this dude twice a week, every single time. Oh, you're left-handed, and then he'd tell me about some like quarterback who was ambidextrous and could throw with both hands twice a week for weeks at a time. Just like, yep, here we go again.
Okay. That's right. Well, I guess the last question would be: do you consider yourself ambidextrous?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Most definitely.
Yeah, I think so too. I think you are. I think so too. I wish I could be that way. I'm not that way. I'm mostly left-handed. I just.
Yeah, I think because of like having to learn to do certain things with my right hand, it just kind of, I think that's something that you can work at. Like you can't work at being right hand dominant, or you can't really work at being left hand dominant. But I think ambidextrous is like the more that you do it, you kind of dissolve the like block in your brain that says you can't do that.
Yeah. That makes sense. I believe that makes sense.
Yeah.
That's cool. Well, thank you, Mr. Blake, for being on the show.
Anytime. Thanks for having me.
It was my pleasure. And everybody out there, this is Left-Handed with a Lot to Say. We're on YouTube at JLJ Media, and we're growing. So right now we're on a couple of streaming services. I hope to get them on all of them at this point. But right now we're on Spreaker.com and I believe Spotify and a couple others. But we're going to be growing and growing and growing. So wherever you find us, like, subscribe, and comment. Let me know what you think. If you're left-handed and want to be on the show, contact me, and we'll see if we have a place for you on here. Everyone, please stay safe and sane.